But we are hit for murder. That's why we can understand each other. That's why we can say we see some sisters, we some brothers, and they don't have to look like us. It's about the people against this system. This wicked system that oppresses black and brown and poor people.
No, and I apologize.
And poor people. That's what it is.
What I'm saying is, we saw the prosecutor in the Tamir White situation.
That's what walk into the court fighting against the system that you guys have. And you protect it.
I can't argue points that I don't know. Okay, so
Black Lives Matter is in the house, and we're not afraid to call the cops out.
how many? Yes. All right. It's not about a black or white thing. It's police officers have a general mentality that blacks are more criminalized. When I walk down the street, all of these brothers, all of these men, and I'm going to use the word men, I'm going to respect you enough to call you men. All of these men see me as a thug, as a gangster. Whereas all of these men, when they see a white man walking down the street, and I've had cops on my radio, come on my radio show and tell me, when he walks to a black neighborhood, he feels like he's walking to a horse. When he walks to a white neighborhood, he feels like he's walking to a horse. What I need all of the white folks to know, they do not treat us the same way that they treat you. They do not treat us the same way that they treat you. When we walk down the street, we are targets. When we walk down the street, we are criminalized. We are automatically assumed to be criminals, which is why we are 3 times more likely per capita to be shot by a. I'm not. But you know. But we're not talking about everybody. You got to line up the number. Now, what I want y'all to.
费城的警察现在已经是严阵以待了，但是对于今年9月份因为较多巴西特来访，费城还迎接过10万人较。
Tell all of you something. There is no such thing as a good cop. And I'm going to tell you exactly. No, I'm going to tell you exactly why. Yeah, fuck you too. I'm going to tell you exactly why. Hold on. No. You're ruining me.
I don't want to hear no dialogue. I want to get back to the protest like I'm here for. I don't want to hear no dialogues right now. Let's get back to why we're here, and that's against protesting police brutality. But they're taking over there. I'm serious. I want them to take it over there. I don't want to get into no dialogue. This is why we're here.
Hold on. I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you why. There's no such thing as a good cop. And you are more than welcome to debate me. I don't speak for Asa. I speak for myself. And you are more than welcome to debate me. Because even though, I hear this all the time, you got one bad officer in the whole bunch, right? But see, all of them will stand up and cover up for that officer. Let me finish. We have seen it over and over again. We saw it in the Tamir White situation. We saw it in the Laquan McDonald situation. We saw it in the Alton Sterling situation. We saw it in the Philando Castile situation. We continue to see it within the police force, where a police officer will state something, and then when the video comes up later, even though all of the other officers have backed his story, we find out that that story was inaccurate. Hold on, now let me finish, and I will allow you to speak, sir. We have seen that story is inaccurate. Now, I've had police officers come on my radio show and say that they would not, under any circumstances, testify in open court against a fellow police officer if it would wind that fellow police officer up in jail. I've had many police officers come on my radio show and tell me that I have yet to have a police officer come on my radio show and tell me that they would stand up against a fellow officer and break the blue wall of silence. So, if I rob a store, if I walk down the street and rob a corner store right now, and this brother right here hides me, even though he was not a part of the robbery. He is an accessory to the crime after the fact, and he is held to the same standard that I am held to, correct? Anybody want to debate me on that? So he is held to the same standard as I am held to. So if these officers cover up for a fellow officer after the crime is committed, then if we hold them to the same standard that we hold ourselves to, then they are all guilty.
Yeah.
Every last one of them. Now, if you want to debate me on that, feel free. Feel free.
I'll tell you where you're wrong, my friend. You use the word all.
Have you?
That's the only word I'm going to defy you on. Use the word all. That's not true.
Will any of you testify against your fellow officer?
Absolutely.
In open court.
Absolutely.
In open court.
Absolutely. You're not going to answer.
So why does it never happen?
Why does it never happen? Why did we see five officers? Why did we see 5 officers in the Laquan McDonald situation?
You're talking about 1% of the officers, 2% or 5% or 10%.
Show-
20%.
show-
But don't say all.
I'm saying all.
nobody
I'm saying
speaks
all.
up-
It doesn't happen. Show me a situation where it's happened. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. Okay, so where were the officers that stood up for Laquan McDonald? Where were the officers that stood up for Tamir Rice? Where were the officers that stood up for Alton Sterling?
You can't take one case out of
I'm not taking one case. I named 3, didn't I? Did I name 3? Now we can go back. Where were the officers? Let's go back. Where were the officers that? I'm going to take you all the way back. Look, where were the officers that stood up for Rodney King? Where were the officers that stood up for Sean Bell? Where were the officers that stood up for Amadou Diallo? Listen, man, it's not one case. This is a systemic issue. Now let me tell you something else. In the Civil War days, not every Confederate soldier owned slaves. But every Confederate soldier, when they donned that uniform, became a representative of the system that wanted to maintain slavery in this country. And therefore, they became an enemy of peace and justice for all men. So, when these officers don that uniform, even if none of these officers right now will put a bullet in my head because I'm a black man, because they don that uniform, they become the enemy for peace and justice in America.
Just because you put that uniform on doesn't mean that you take off your humanity.
Absolutely.
You understand?
Absolutely.
I have police officers, it's a Black Lives Matter activist, I have police officers in our family. Even though relative, my cousin, was shot and murdered by Philadelphia police. When we say, or hear, or when I personally hear that a police officer is shot, I immediately think of my loved ones. They don't stop being my loved ones simply because they put their uniform on. We're saying that Black Lives Matter is, we're not advocating for murder of anyone. We're in the streets because we want to promote life. That's why we say Black Lives Matter. So let's get rid of that negative narrative right there. We've already positioned ourselves where we stand concerning that. But black and brown people are hurt. And I'm not talking about hurt from last week's shooting or the following week's shooting or last month's shooting. This is generational hurt. This is hurt that our fathers, their fathers had to endure. You don't sit and ask people who are broken to try to stand with you and hear your point of view when they are in broken pieces. We have to heal. The only way we have to do to even get to the point of sitting down with anybody talking about law enforcement, we have to be in a position spiritually where we are healed to talk about that. It does not stop simply because we bury our loved one. The hurt is still there. And then the insult when the officers get home to watch Friends reruns and your hurt is still there because the loved one is dead. No accountability. We marched last year just to get the names of the 2 officers involved in the Brandon Tate Brown case. We were arrested. The coalition members, Black Lives Matter members, we were arrested and dragged into the paddy wagon just to get the names. We're not even talking about the arrest. We're not even talking about the prosecution. Just the name of the officers. We had to go through that. We had school teachers, never been arrested in their life. We had a priest. We had people in the clergy who felt so strongly about this. Because Brandon Tate Brown could be any one of our cousins or our relatives. It could be any one of our friends. You don't have to be black to be my friend for me to be upset if you hadn't gotten any justice if the police abuse you. We're talking about life. That transcends race and everything, religion, everything. We want transparency. This city has a history under Frank Rizzo of brutalizing black and brown people. Look it up. I didn't make the rules. We were told, our parents were told, you better not go in certain neighborhoods because that was Rizzo's bill. And we're still talking about it in 2016. That's the sad part. And then you have a woman who's running for president. She's a woman running for president. She's not the right woman, but she's running for president. And she did not secure a spot for Black Lives Matter to speak on police violence. She has the mothers of police violence to speak, but she's labeled that as gun violence. No. The mothers are mothers who lost their children due to police violence, who had a legal permit to carry a gun and shoot. So that shows how disingenuous she is. You cannot use black women to get votes, Hillary Clinton. You can't do it. And had Bernie Sanders been the nominee, we would have had a platform at Black Lives Matter, because he gets it. He gets it. And that's why he got my vote.